Welcome to Wuxiaworld's Teahouse Season 2. I'm your host, Yoj.
And I'm Toki.
Welcome back to another episode with Toki and Yoj. Today, we have a special guest, Orb, with us.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Orb. We missed you.
Thank you. It's been a rough time away, but I'm back at it and ready again.
I know, you've been crying on the lounge, just hinting at us with the brick.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit of a berater.
Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about what makes us passionate when we are translating. Whether that means it hypes us up happily or it enrages us, whether that be characters, arcs, authors, novels, so forth. I know normally Toki would jump in to rage about his author and his most favorite novel, but he is a bit under the weather. So, wish Toki happiness and luck. I don't know. Just feel better, Toki. Hop in when you can.
Yeah, I'm still here. Trying to sound like Orb.
I'm talking about you. You're not here and dead.
Trying to sound like my favorite ding dong, Orb over ding dong. Yeah.
Yeah, get some rest peacefully.
Orb, do you want to start us off?
I sound dead, don't I?
Yeah, just a little bit.
But in a good way. It makes you like salt of the earth. That went over well.
All right, I'm gonna give the floor to Orb. Hey, everybody, give it up for Orb over ding dong.
Yeah. I've been editing for about, 10, 11 months by now. I think one of the things, I don't have a specific example to use here. We'll kind of do. But authors will oftentimes use something, a term or formatting that just does not go over well to English. And I'll see with my translator, like we'll look at our Google Doc and there's so many comments from them that's like, somebody check my sanity, please. And they put the original Korean and they're like, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Wait. Remind us, what novel do you edit?
The Max Level Hero Strikes Back, or The Max Level Hero Returns.
And that's what translators Nook and...
It was Cece for a little while, and Namu is our overlord. But I think it's Cece hasn't for a little while. She's kind of done her own translating thing.
So mainly it's Fried Nook at this point then?
Yep, we're a dynamic duo. And it has become a little bit of us both being like, yeah, man, we understand this is a little rough. We understand that this formatting, because I'm like pasting in the channel. Okay, so I have something here. And I have to just keep asking Penguin and stuff, just such individual questions. Because he's like, okay, so we have the author gives me a Dokebi King, which is already a little bit off. And I'm like, why do we have to use Dokebi instead of goblins? And of course, Namu and them are like, yeah, it's different.
It's kind of slightly different from a regular goblin.
I did look up a preview image and it was really cute. It had like the wider face.
Yeah, goblins and Dokebi kind of like slightly different. So wait, you're complaining about the formatting?
A little bit. Well, because in this specific case, we've already gone a chapter and a half with this Goblin King. So basically the Dokebi King, he is talking to everybody, right? Normal dialogue, everything's normal. And then eventually a chapter and a half later, it says that the king says, except he doesn't speak English, or like he doesn't speak their language, but they are able to understand the thought.
So this whole time I was like, what, thoughts?
Yeah, I had to like go back a chapter and a half and be like, do I put brackets here? Do I put a singular thing? I ended up having to go with quotations, and then I made the words italic as long as I preface it with something saying like, oh yeah, they just understand, but he's just talking nonsense.
So I kind of like filled in for Namu for right before she came in, right? And that arc was a Murim arc. I think it might have been before you, Juan, as well. So when you were talking about Max Level Hero, I really thought you would be talking about a particular arc and how much that arc sucked, not about a format.
I
Not
do
gonna lie.
have a scene or two to discuss.
Because
All right.
from my memory, that novel was slightly difficult to translate and to understand. Like the character names weren't really clear. At some points, I couldn't tell whether like it was the present, the future, or the past.
Yeah,
So
and it's like,
I
is
was
this
surprised.
the demon, the devil, the dragon world? What
Yeah.
is the underworld? Or
I mean, to be fair, Korean novels generally don't put a pronoun with like their sentences, so you're never really sure who is talking or what
yeah.
like the gender of the character is if it's such an ambiguous name.
Yeah.
Well, that really annoys me. But formatting.
And then you find out like 50 chapters down the line, it's actually a she, not a he.
Right?
I've definitely seen those
yeah.
editor's notes before. But I do have an arc.
Okay.
So Rin basically is Davy, the main character's cyborg, or she's kind of like a golem,
Mhm.
but she's basically a normal girl, but she speaks very monotone, and so she has robotic parts. So randomly in a chapter, it starts with creak, thud. Rin had been wandering around, investigating and looking for traces of Cursina when a cheeky metal carriage, or a car to be exact, ran her over. Rin silently let herself fall and roll on the ground. She was left in a lethargic daze. And then it talks about how she's unbothered by the attack, but she's like, oh, this is going to take a bit of effort to repair. This sucks. And it says, as she lay there in a daze, perusing her complicated thoughts brought on by Davy, a voice rang in her ears. Hey, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. Is she dead? Damn it. You drank too much. We should run. Fuck. This is why you should drink in moderation. Are you crazy? You're telling me to do a hit and run? It's too late, you bitch. Anyways, we're just minors. It's fine. Don't you know that there are laws regarding minors? Just follow my lead. Creak thud. And so we learned that this is a group of teenagers that drank too much and decided to go, and they hit Rin. And that already is like, oh, that's kind of weird. And there's that Chinese thing of my father is Li Gong, where that guy hit somebody and then tried to use his father to get out of it. But that narration ends with the group of drunks drove away from Rin and hit another innocent man during the process. So you mentioned earlier today, like Truck-kun, I saw you mention, I think on the
From the
Wuxiaworld
previous
Discord.
episode, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, in that episode, I immediately messaged and was like, hey, is it cool if I put a GIF of a girl being hit by a truck, but it's an anime? So I made an editor's note and made sure that everybody knew what that would look like. And
Okay,
so, go on.
I just want to kind of go on a tangent here. But Orb, damn, you're reading. What the fuck? That was so good.
Yeah, I had to get really good at reading. I couldn't say my R's until I was like 13, which made the way I speak kind of be like very deliberate. And so basically the entire time I've ever been in school, even after it went away, because I still spoke a little weird, I've always been the presentation person that people pick every time.
So one of our listeners, our lovely Dragnuti, he was talking about like if ever Wuxiaworld gets audiobooks for their novels, I think you should be the reader, the narrator, because what the fuck? That was so good.
That'd be cool.
Sorry, I totally got us off track. But I just wanted to say, wow, that was mind-blowing. It was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, to get us back on track.
Yes. So, we go on,
What were we talking
and yeah, we go on. Rin gets hit by that car.
Right,
The kids drive away and hit another guy.
Oh, jeez.
While that's happening. And so Davy, the main character, he is doing something else at the time, and he's teleported back to Korea, and he's teleported into a funeral. And there's an old guy in a wheelchair, and he's like, yeah, somebody hit my son with their car. He has a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. He was the breadwinner. I'm in this wheelchair. Who's going to raise them? And Davy's kind of like, oh, that sucks. and then doesn't do anything about it.
That sucks.
And then the chapter ends with him checking on Rin's condition. And he says, "Rin, what's up with this?" Davy asks, pointing to her leg. And it's all fucked up. It's all gnarly looking. And she says, "Rin collided with Earth's steel vehicles." Rin confirms she had endured the collision. Rin highly evaluates her durability, even though she is currently under repair. Davy stopped operating on Rin after hearing her response. Say that again? What smashed into who? And that's where that chapter ends. And I was kind of offended because it definitely gives the impression that if Rin weren't personally involved, Davy would have been like, oh, well, fucking sucks to suck for this guy. Because the guy even mentions, yeah, it was some minors and they're not even punishing him like at all.
Ooh.
And Davy's like, oh, yeah, man, that sucks. But yeah, we learned that like they were like all 13. One of them was like 8 years old. And all of them go to court and they have famous parents or like the law is on their side. And so nothing happens. And then
so one of those.
Yeah. So then three of the boys show up because Davy goes back to the funeral to check on things because he's like, hey, I think these might be related. And so while somebody he knows is kind of overseeing things, they come back and say things like, well, I suppose it's not like we're not at least a little related to all this, so we also came to give our condolences. And the old guy's like, what? And it says the dead man's young children glared at them with tears streaming down their faces as they hugged each other, and the crippled grandfather was the one to lash out at the boys for their extra disrespect toward his son. And so the grandpa's like, well, come on, man, like get out of here. And they're like, "Aw, don't be so hard on us. It's not like we hit him on purpose or something." And he goes, What? You bastards? Is that how your mother and father raised you? You wicked bastards. And what the fuck are you doing?
That's how they raised them, yeah.
Yeah. And they say, and what the fuck are you doing bringing our families into this, old man? A middle school student boy who couldn't stand it anymore frowned and stepped forward. Fuck, Gramps, you think we hit him on purpose, huh? Besides, we got all our punishment because of your son. We're the ones who had to go to court under the pretense of killing someone against our will.
Oh no, what the fuck? Wow, seriously?
The grandpa falls to the ground. And then it says the dialogue, it's true that we did hit him. A boy walked in leisurely, speaking calmly, and slipped the condolence money into an envelope. But the dead must go, and those that are alive have to keep living. And so the old guy hears him say the dead must go. And he's like, come on. And he strikes the boy with his cane. And the boy makes a grim expression. Oh, shit. If you keep hitting us like that, I'm going to have to sue you for assault. Gramps, don't you know the laws protecting minors? You bastards. Aren't you afraid of God's retribution? God? Who gives a fuck? You believe in God and I'll love the laws of this country. God damn. I fucking love the Constitution of the Republic of Korea.
Okay, you when this arc is it's really annoying. That would piss me off so bad.
Yeah. And he says, I don't know why you guys are making such a fuss when the law forgave me. I'm giving this to you because my dad told me to give it to you. So just freaking take it.
What the fuck? No, seriously? What chapter is this?
Yeah, let me see. It's chapter 783. And so I opened that up, right? I'm reading this, and while I'm editing it, I'm like, what the fuck? And I immediately get into the zone translating and finish 4 chapters at once just because I want to finish the arc.
But you know what's one funny thing about it? What's one fucked up thing about it? It's actually based on true story.
Are you for reals?
It's not made up, yeah. It actually happens in this country.
That's fucked up.
Because it's the same as that legal.
Because minors have legal immunity, quote unquote. So they don't get into trouble. There has been a case of minors drinking and driving illegally without a license, and they hit someone, but they got scot-free because it's the law.
That is fucked up.
I can understand why they're so arrogant then.
That's so fucked up.
So he says, like, my father told me to give this to you, so just freaking take it. And the boy, like his 7-year-old son, says, we don't want your money, man. Just get out of here. And it says, slap! When he hit the boy across the face with the envelope, the boy's eyes widened in shock before he collapsed to the floor. This cheap-ass kid thinks he could talk to me like that? Hey, let's go. Where are the others? They said they were going to fake ID their way into clubs today. Don't they fucking look old enough anyway? And then the MC, after all this, Davey, finally confronts them with a disguise on. And they're like, oh, you piece of shit, get the fuck out of our way, you foreigner. And they're a little racist towards him because he has a disguise on. And then once they leave the room, Davey, our MC, pulls out his phone and we find out that he was live streaming the whole thing. Okay, and so he opens the phone
Karma.
And he calls the president of the Republic of Korea and demands that he relinquish the culprits to his own custody. He says basically, hey, when you're finished with those boys, give them to me. And quote, because before the guys hit the poor victim, they first hit Rin, a guard captain under my direct control. So since our MC leads like a country in another dimension, basically, he's like, all right, unless you want to go to war with me, you give me those kids. And so the government has to kind of acquiesce and be like, all right, man, after arguing a little bit. And he's like, we'll bomb the shit out of you. He even says, like, while he's holding the phone, he's like, can you go ahead and prepare a bombardment, please? Yeah, it's probably going to happen in a few hours. Thanks. All right, back to you, President.
I mean, like, should we be happy that the boys hit Ren? Because then at least it gave Davey an excuse to demand retribution?
Yeah, like the diplomatic means to do so.
Right. Oh, jeez. But, like, that entire arc would piss me off. At least it ended nicely. It ended satisfyingly.
Yeah,
kinda.
And he, like, brings them onto his big airship. And
beats them up?
Wait, what does he do with them? Just beats them. Does he throw them overboard?
I think he does, actually. I think he throws them off the airship and then, like, gets them right before they hit the ground and just kind of pseudo-tortures them, beats them around a little bit.
Okay, that's satisfying karma, at least.
Yeah, a little bit. I did leave a note at the end of the chapter because I like to leave little blurbs. And I quote, all right, give me a break, author. He laid it on pretty thick in this chapter. I've read other novels where people's limbs are ripped off and brutalized, but somehow our lovely author managed to make these children into characters that piss me off even more than those typical villains. And I had to get Namu to confirm that I could use the language in this next sentence. I said, these young, double-tapping vehicular manslaughterers just kept elevating bratty little shit to a whole other level again and again. Not only do they come and disrespect the bereaved, but they even slap a small child with an envelope full of sardonic cash. My blood pressure surely suffered while editing this chapter, as the ever so wise Lil Yachty once said, man, fuck them kids, bro.
I mean, agreed, because what the fuck?
Yeah, it was one of those arcs where, I mean, I was in the middle of it and I was like, oh, you laying it on pretty thick, man. I mean, because the novel also has arcs that are a ton of different stuff. And by the time it's gotten to now, the actual novel ended like in the early 800s. And apparently it has like 600 or 700 afternote chapters. So the actual novel finished and they're just going on with the story and doing a bunch of side stories and stuff.
Regressor instruction manual is also doing that, and it's driving me nuts. It's like 1,000 chapters of just side chapters. I'm like, why don't you just write another book? Why are we continuing this? Or like, why is it not just part of the main story? At this point, these side stories are longer than the main novel.
Yeah.
But is it related to the main story, or is it like a completely different story?
For mine, it is like it's related to the guy. And they kind of just, honestly, now it's just back to being the novel. Davey keeps trying to be like, you know what? Oh, hands off. I'm not getting involved in this stuff anymore. And then he just does anyways.
Okay, Toki, do you have anything to add about what enrages you? What makes you passionate?
What makes me passionate? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but shit writing.
Hell yeah.
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that can cover anything from very ambiguous sentences to like shit fighting
just one
scenes.
thing is, it's probably no, writing, not fighting. Okay, but one thing that I kind of hate is when the plot has so much potential and then the author kind of gets lazy or slips up. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with them, and then they just ruin the perfectly good storyline. Yeah.
It's like one of those things where when you have a game, the developers do the first mission last because they're best at making a game by the end of it. And so you play the first mission in a game and it's like amazing. And in a lot of novels, like the first 50 pages, you have to look at reviews because some people are like, I'm 50 pages in and this is fantastic. And other people are like, I'm 4,000 chapters in. This is shit. This is bad.
I will say sometimes when like authors go that long and I'm like, what can you possibly write more about this particular set of characters? Like what more can they do?
Yeah, how many realms can they ascend? They just keep going up and
I don't
up.
understand. Like you can't possibly keep doing something new, so then you would start repeating things just in a different way, in which case, why not end it and just start a different novel with new sets of characters?
From my perspective, reading pretty much strictly Chinese novels on the site for so long, because that's kind of all we had, I was shocked when I became like an editor and I learned that most or a significant number of Korean stories end after like 400 or 500 chapters.
I think 400 or 500 is on the longer side, no?
Yeah, I was like, what?
200 or 300, yeah.
Yeah, we have two. Some of them are like 200 or 300s. I think 500 is like on the longer end.
Because
but one thing you gotta remember is that Korean novels are around like 70 to 100% longer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So that kind of equals out then. That's true.
Yeah. So it's sort of like 600 chapters, 1,000 probably. Yeah.
For a little while, I kind of felt lesser almost because I learned that like Korean novels post one update a day and Chinese novels do two updates a day. And for a little bit, I was like, oh, I'm like a Korean novel translator.
Wow.
Man. Like,
and then you found a chapter
they're
length?
all badasses in the Chinese novels. Fuck. But yeah, it turns out we're badass. I mean, I'm not sure as a reader whether I prefer one chapter the length of two or two chapters. I'm not sure there's like a real big preference I've had in the past. But I do think that when there are 2 chapters a day, it's really smart when it's like part 1, part 2. And so if you purposely end it to where the first updated chapter of the day is part 2 to something, and the second is part 1, you're going to get a lot more champion subscriptions of people because part 1's going to end on a cliffhanger.
Right.
And then they'll want to know what happens.
It's been cliffhangers. It annoys me.
The bane of my bank account, man. It's crazy.
Well then, thank you, Orb, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on Wuxiaworld's Teahouse. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit the follow button to stay updated with our latest releases. If you want more tea, hop over to our social media or Discord. And send us an email if you want to spill the tea. We'll be back every Friday of each month, so check out our website, wuxiaworld.com. See you in the next episode. Bye!